daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach Finch. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, not too bad. Considering before the game, I said I'd have happily taken a draw. I assumed a loss. A win would have been wonderful. We ended up with the draw. So it's not like the end of the world. I think it's just the manner in which it happened, the fact that Frank Lampard's a bit of a wetty.
A bit, yeah. Look, straight out of the gate, right? I personally have been in the stadium when Frank Lampard has been called worse in previous years and never seen him rise to it like that. So, I mean, to celebrate like that after a draw with every piece of time wasting and dark arts in the book, I mean...
Not only that, it's the way that they celebrated the draw is as if, it's not like they went down to 10 men due to injury and they used all their subs, right? They went down to 10 men because one of their players made one of the stupidest decisions in football I've ever seen, which is to absolutely go flying in and then just got sent off straight away. Then to have Coventry fans boo Wellington, a guy whose crime was being absolutely wiped out, as if he was some sort of villain. Because, I don't think he protested it. I think the red card came out before he even stood back up. So, it's not like he went down. I can understand, to a small extent, Greg, I can understand when players get annoyed that Cienza goes down. And pundits will say he goes down easy. I don't think that's true. I just think he gets brought down because a lot of defenders don't know how to deal with him, right? And that's just what I can see with my eyes.
He's deceptively quick. So, he shifts the ball in a position where any defender thinks they can get it, but then in the blink of an eye, it's gone. And so subsequently, he just gets kicked time and time again. And now, sure, sometimes he'll go down a bit easy, but also most of the time, 3 times yesterday, I saw him just stand up and keep running with the ball.
So this is the thing. I can understand, but when you just completely wipe out a player, studs up, and they get sent off, I don't really understand what you complain about. Now, obviously, in the stadium, it's a bit different. You don't see it as easy. You maybe think that it's a whole lot of nothing, but also, you don't see straight reds given nowadays for unless there's proper infractions, right? That's where I'm at. So it was frustrating, but we should take it back to the start, Greg, and talk about the team sheet that we both didn't predict, which was slightly surprising. So yeah, how did you feel about Wellington being a right back who is our left back? That was weird, right, to start with?
I think my exact words to you, Zach, were that it was bold.
Yes, that was your words. We didn't even really get to discuss the fact that Stevens was out, but
I think that it's one of those decisions where if it works and pays off, it's a Will Still decision, right? It either looks like genius or crazy. But, I mean, it was very clear that Fellows wasn't as fit as we were hoping he would be.
Yeah, it's not as fit as we were told either. That was very much sort of the build-up. Was he's fine back now 100%, and that clearly is tactical.
That. Yeah, that's tactical, right? You want them to prepare for Tom Fellows, and then if they don't have to deal with it, that is what it is. But that was evident when that tackle was made on Wellington, when preparations were made in case Wellington had to come off because he was injured. It was Robinson that was sent to warm up and not Fellows, because that would have been too early to bring Fellows on, because clearly he didn't have 40, 35 minutes in him, which is, a bit upsetting, to be honest, because we could have done with him at full fitness. But
I mean, arguably he did end up with 45 minutes for the amount of added time, but it's again, all of that comes off the back of... But it's interesting that as much as we lament the fact that it was a draw, we were well on to potentially, we could have easily lost that game, especially if it carried on like the first half, right? especially where we went 1-0 down just before the end. Like, I wouldn't have put it past them beating us 2-0, 2-1 at that point. However, the fact that Wellington was the one on the field and he was the one that was taken out is what essentially resulted in us getting a point. And I know that it feels like 2 points dropped, but in my opinion, it's still a point earned.
I'm in the same boat. And to credit to Wellington, he did as good of a job at right back as you could possibly expect.
I didn't expect him to do worse, to be honest.
I don't think you can judge him negatively on it. I think he was fine. Obviously, he wasn't going to excel in that position because it's not the position he plays. But he did a reasonably good job covering, and he was sort of aggressive in the right spots. In the same mannerisms as Manning, where he does have a tendency to turn around and pass the ball backwards too easily, which is not something that Fellows does, because he's either passing it forward or running it forward, and that's sort of the big difference. But yeah, I mean, he did fine. And to touch on your point about points dropped or points gained, before the game I'd have taken a point.
Yeah.
At half time I'd have taken a point.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, there was a red card that changed it up, but it wasn't because we didn't go for the win. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that we put Baz up for corners when there were still 5 minutes on the clock.
Yes, and it was slightly interesting to see the second tier podcast make a point of the fact that we technically had they said that we had 5 defenders on at that point. I'm like, I don't ever think I've ever counted Fellows as a defender. So I don't know if that's necessarily
not
true.
A defender, yeah. Manning is also not really a defender.
So I can kind of understand where they're at. But
that said, the person left furthest back from the corner was Tom Fellows. So I don't know. Maybe you can't count in that instance.
Maybe that's because at that point
be a pace decision, right? There's nothing else to it.
He's not fit enough to be able to do it. That's
he'll have the pace to chase them down, and he'll take the yellow or red card from taking it if that's the chance on the break, right? Fine.
Yeah, exactly that. The only other thing I would say, Quash played well. He did good. He had a couple of wobbly moments near the beginning, but towards the end of the game, he was very. I think his physical qualities are coming into the foray now, right? We're past the sort of hang on this Bundesliga 2 defenders being shoved in a prime championship team. This is difficult like it was early season, and now he seems to sort of be able to slot in and out when they need him to, which is perfect. That we've actually got a plethora of defenders to choose from. He was the only one that we didn't really expect, but we put a question mark on. More so, we expected Stevens. I'm not going to lie.
Well, yeah, I mean, I genuinely feel like he stepped into the role and did a better job than I think Stevens would have, which is kind of crazy. But his composure on the ball has come on leaps and bounds. He is an absolute tank when defenders run at him, and that's great. And something extra that he brings to the game, which in itself might be a consideration when we sort of think about the bigger picture, is, my God, can that boy launch a throw?
we finally have our long throw specialist, right?
Yeah, it's coming back into fashion, right? Because Coventry had a long throw, like a crazy long throw as well. So it's interesting to see the sort of cycles of football back from the Rory Delap days. Springs to mind of Boaz Myhill kicking the ball out for a corner instead of a throw-in, but it's something else that he brings as an offering, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, he stepped up and stepped in. I don't know, like you say, whether it was a tactical decision based off his physical presence to sort of oust Stevens, or if Stevens needed a rest because he's old in footballer terms now, an ancient 32. But
he's not a goalkeeper, mate. He's only got to find out about years.
Yeah.
Later. Yeah. It's just like us thinking Romeu's in his 50s and he's only 34.
Yeah. To the craziness of football and the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, look, he stepped up and it proved to be a solid choice. Like I say, for me, it's a genuine flip of the coin, him or Stevens. I think they're both perfectly as capable, and I'm sure that there are other qualities that you don't see that might separate them. I know that Stevens is a lot more on the pitch.
Captain, one of them's our captain, one of them isn't.
But if it's nice that we're in this position, right? I think I said it to you as well before the game. It's nice that actually any of those 5 centre-backs could have gone in any order, and I don't really think I'd have had a concern about it. I think that it's fine, which when you look back is nice, isn't it?
Any of the 3 who were playing, I just wish stood in front of that ball when they headed it in. That was probably my only bit of criticism for them. The rest of the game they played pretty well, but
that's the shame, right? And that's the small parts of football, is because that was really defensively the only time we even remotely switched off for the entire game. And in just like a split second of a lack of concentration, and that was it. It was 1-0 down.
There was a very good chance that could have happened again had we not then spent a solid half just kicking the ball at them. And I think part of the problem with the first half, which me and you already kind of discussed, right, is we ended up, it was just very frantic. It was every ball was being released early. Like Armour's whatever, I don't know if you can really call it strike, right? It went so far wide, but like a couple of the times, whenever we kind of got away and we got a breakaway, everything was just sort of like a frantic, oh, we need to take this chance right now, so we need to kick the ball right now, and then it was kind of like, okay, it's flown over the bar. And we could have maybe put the game.
Leo
we could have
tripping over his own feet as well.
Yeah,
right?
but
like,
again, it's the desperation to score, and then it was the complete opposite of the problem we had on like the second half, where it was exactly like. And the sad reality of it is, Greg, you turn around and was like, I really hope that Nathan Jones quote about it not being harder against 10 men don't come back to bite us. And I feel like a lot of people will probably feel that was the case. Again, like there's dark arts involved, but then there was 9 minutes of added time. But I said to you, I didn't feel like we were knocking on the door a lot, but I didn't feel like there was a goal coming in the last sort of 30 minutes. And that partly is due to...
I felt like it was coming. It was building. I really was surprised. This is
where we disagree.
Yeah.
You say that, but like every sort of time it was like, oh, and it's almost clear. Oh, and it was almost clear. And I think I was kind of surprised by the substitutions. I don't know how you felt about both of them, right? I kind of felt like specifically Archer for Yanda was a bit of a weird one for me. Like Fellows for Wellington made sense. That was probably always going to be the face that Fellows wanted to play. They wanted to get his pace into the game. They wanted to get his delivery into the game. Sure, Wellington was already playing in a unfamiliar bit, and basically he'd done his job at that point, right? Like he had guaranteed the game to be a draw at that point, essentially. Especially after,
or arguably he had survived long enough in the game that we could get our preferred player on for the rest of the game, and that was his job, right? He survived that long out of position without doing anything wildly stupid and contributing in a positive fashion to it, right? Which is all you can ask for someone playing not in their position. Right?
Well, that's the thing.
I've got thoughts on the substitutions, mate, and I will share them in detail. But first, let's have a little break and hear from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, mate, and we are back. Right, the substitutions. Okay. So, yeah, like you say, Fellows for Wellington, it was like scripted, right? It was always going to...
that made sense. If anything, we'd expect it to have happened earlier, right?
Yeah. And then Archer for Yanda. Now, on the face of it and on paper, that might seem like a slightly strange substitution. But when you look it's probably the sort of thing you don't really see on TV, but looking at the pitch from where I was, you could see that Coventry was still leaving their striker up the pitch. He did not have defensive responsibilities, and he was their out plan, but it was just him. And beyond that, the middle of the field, the midfield area, had been where they sacrificed their play to drop back into defence, having lost a player. So they were skimp in the midfield area, I would say.
They subbed off and went to a back five, right?
Yeah, and so with that in mind, losing a midfielder for a striker kind of makes sense, right? You want to push forward. And sure, there's an argument for maybe, with that many attacking players on the field, they might kind of get in each other's way. But I can see the intent of Flynn is more than capable of controlling the midfield as it stands on his own without another midfielder. So let's bring on a striker in a position to, make that impact and make the change and score a goal. I don't know, honestly, did Cameron Archer actually have a touch?
Controversially, though, Greg, I think that Yander probably would have had more of a chance at shooting and scoring a goal than Archer. And that's why I'm surprised by it, because or maybe taking off Yander instead of maybe Flynn was also a bit of a surprise for me, because Yander's been far more of an attacking outlet, and I guess that's what it's more the personnel change, and after that you didn't really have you're right, okay, Archer may have not really got the ball, but that's kind of like.
But you don't know the fitness levels. You don't know if they're, I couldn't really see but maybe he was starting to be a bit leggy. I mean, there are any sort of number of reasons that it would be him over Flynn, but actually, I just think generally because Flynn is naturally slightly more defensive of the two. If you're going to leave one on in lieu of another midfielder, I guess it kind of makes sense for it to be him. But yeah, it didn't have the impact that we were hoping for, right? And I mean, it's unusual, to be honest, to only see two changes, right?
That was one of the more. But I think that shows you the desire to try and get it over the line, right? And then we had enough added time as well to easily get it over the line if we just didn't. And then we fall back into that little trap as well of the whole hashtag trust the process, where it's it was kind of not frantic until right at the end, where you had Baz being sent up for the last kick of the game. And everything it was
kind of frantic. There was some backwards and sideways involved, but none of it was for the sake of it, particularly. They were trying to progress it. They just needed to reset and find the space. It definitely felt, or at least from my sort of vantage point, it felt with more intent than we'd seen. Definitely under Will Steele, but definitely under Russell Martin, when it was just possession for the sake of it.
I agree with that.
I could see the intent. I could see the movement. It wasn't through lack of movement. There was just, we've gone up this side, we've hit a dead end, we need to roll it back and find that quick switch out. It's just, yeah. I mean,
do you think it was a surprise? Because as we said, from the first half, we both felt how everything was a bit frantic, right? And then the second half, it's almost like they weren't expecting to suddenly have an entire half of just dominating the other team, because and then we all of a sudden ended up in that problem that we have, where if we don't play at a team that also comes at us, we end up stuck trying to break down a defensive side, which we still haven't quite maybe mastered the art of yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, you hear from the players that Tonda's so detail orientated, right? But no level of detail orientation is going to prepare you for a sudden red card and the way that's going to change the game. And so I'm sure it wasn't necessarily quite what they were prepared for. I mean, we can talk about the fact that I definitely think for some of that first half, we were much more willing to sit defensively than play as hard and fast as we have done the past 3 or 4 games. And I definitely think that was in an effort to save something for the second half, because we know how poor second halves have been. But you're right, I don't know if we would have quite have been prepared to be as dominant as we were, but also, it was a very defensively organised Coventry team sitting back with no intent of really playing it forward. And I mean, without wanting to point fingers, obviously Leo Cienza is the creative spark of the team generally. Whenever he picks up the ball, you get the feeling that something is going to happen. And he was good at initiating those moves and getting past players and getting into spaces.
You're saying he should have passed, aren't you, Greg?
But all of his shots were really bad. Look, Look, I love Leo. Like, honestly, probably one of my favourite players on the team at the moment, but his shots were not good at all. I mean, there were two in the first half that went over the bar, one where he tripped over his own feet, and then all of the other ones were pretty much directly at the goalkeeper. And you know, to be fair, to credit to him, it's not like he shot every time. There were passes. It's just unfortunate that none of those passes really landed in a position for anyone to actually get a decent shot off. I think the closest we got was Manning, who just absolutely leathered one with pure frustration, you could only imagine, that forced an incredible save. But yeah, I mean,
you understand it, right? Because if you've been
we've had so many of these draws since we've been doing this podcast where the frustration is, I wish we just kicked the ball at the goal. And this isn't that, right? Like, it's frustrating that we weren't able to get it in the goal, but also we had 23 shots.
Well, we also did manage to get it in the goal at least once, because let's not remember that when this started and that red card happened, we were 1-0 down. And it took Nathan Wood's first goal for the club to be, you know, and I think that's a nice little bit of redemption for him, considering that a lot of people's prevailing memory of him most recently at St Mary's is you know, going to be when he put two fingers up to the entire crowd, which admittedly feels like a lifetime ago at this point, and he has been completely solidly since then. Came back into the side, did his little apology, and I think that must have been a fantastic moment for him and a fantastic moment for us, because you know we're taking it like, oh, I can't believe it was just a draw, we should have won. Well, at least we managed to score one. If we hadn't scored at all, which was perfectly, as the rest of that half showed, that could have actually been what happened. Like,
yeah, you're right, and you have to add in the additional context, right? Because also that's the leaders of the league, right? And they're not that because they don't know how to defend. So it's
exactly.
You know, is it right to be frustrated that, you know, against 10 men we probably should have put 2 away and won? Yes, that's probably fair.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the absolute end of the world? No, definitely not. You know, at least we got something from it. And like you say, going into the game without all of the other bits, we'd have happily taken a point. And I think I am happy with it. And even because, you know, I think some people will feel like it's points dropped with that second half being pretty much the entire thing against 10 men. But like I say, you know, it's not like it was we gave up and passed it around the back at 1-1. Like, we shot the ball as best we could. It's just unfortunate in this instance it didn't go in. But on another day, Baz scores a header from the corner and we're on the pitch, right? Like, that's just the way it plays out.
Not only that, as the point as I made, mate, was like Wood scoring and us getting back to 1-1 is what gained us a point. We were losing at that point. It wasn't guaranteed. Like, we have been in positions before where it's not guaranteed that just because a player is sent off, we are suddenly able to score again.
Exactly.
And with all the attacking we should have had, you know, we could have been able to. Okay, Armstrong misfired a bit, Leo misfired a bit, Azaz misfired a bit. Like, it is what it is. Like, as long as it's not permanent, I'm not really too bothered. And we have a perfect opportunity to kind of show the attacking intent up against Oxford coming up soon. So
that's it, right?
Yeah,
and
it's not the end of the world.
This was always the toughest game in this run of games, and we've come out of it with a point, and that's the important thing. And that's now 5 unbeaten at home, which is nuts.
Yeah, you'd be more surprised we got a point out of this and a loss to Norwich than anything else. If we drew to Norwich, I probably would have been annoyed about it. I just can't bring myself to be annoyed that we drew the current league leaders, and I can't bring myself to be as upset and annoyed as everybody else is about the afters and Frank Lampard and that, because quite frankly, I don't.
Let's get on to it and have a nice detailed chat about the afters, mate, in what some of the people around me described as the most entertaining part of the afternoon. But let's get to that. But first, let's have a little break and hear from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. All right, mate, and we are back. So let's let's get into the afters now. Right, Frank Lampard giving it large after a 1-1 draw and some of the most offensive time wasting I've ever seen in all of football. I mean, look. What do you expect from Harry Redknapp's nephew? Is all I'm at. Like,
look, okay. The only defense I'll give is flip the script. Right, we're top of the leaderboard, and Tondereka gives it to a bunch of fans after we beat, I don't know, name another team that's on a good run. Right, if after that Norwich game Tondereka had given it a bit of, if we managed to draw off the back of that, right, what would our response be? Probably similar to what Coventry fans are.
Mate, here's the funny thing about all of it, right? And perhaps it's just because I am maybe not a very good person, but I am fine with him giving a bit of stick to the Saints fans in the same way that I am equally as fine with how fired up the Saints fans got and gave it back to him at that moment. I'm also perfectly fine with Leo Cienza going over and having a quiet word. And then someone went over and shoved Wellington. And then it turns out I'm also absolutely fine with the brawl that took place. Honestly, after some of the performances and the head loss we saw last season, it's just nice to see players willing to fight for it,
So what you mean is you're happy to see they care, right?
Yeah.
And as much as all of the TV commentary will be, I don't like to see that. No one likes to see this.
Nobody likes to see this in football. And actually, aren't they going, great? I mean, look, long time. I feel like if you go back and watch our episodes, and I think I've mentioned previously in ways to improve football, I'm pretty sure we've thrown around the idea of one ice hockey style fight being allowed. Like, I'm just saying,
between us and the NFL and everything else. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying, like, it's good entertainment, and I love it.
How does it feel that you've picked sports teams where both sports teams this weekend, Greg, in separate sports, separate parts of the world, have started a mass brawl during their game?
I feel like that is much more in one of those teams' image than the other.
To be clear to the listeners that haven't paid attention to the 300 and something episodes of lore, Greg is also an Eagles fan in the NFL. So you're right, that is far more their forte than Southampton.
It's very Philly. But look, I mean, look, it's great. I like to look. I'm sure that there'll be the FL will come out and slap them on the wrists. But look, does it make Frank Lampard potentially a bit wet for coming out and reacting like that? Yeah, probably. Does it really matter? No, I think it's great. I love it.
Is it going to be forgotten about by next week?
Yeah. I mean, if any, honestly, I mean, I am such a strong advocate of the away team just fully embracing being the bad guys. I long for one of the halftime substitutes warming up from the away team to 2-foot one of the kids in the halftime relay one time, because it will be peak entertainment. Like it's
and you need to also remember, you need to calm down and pull yourself back a little bit here, where your background is maybe an ex-wrestler and really enjoying the heel turn and loving kayfabe, which isn't something I ever thought I would bring up on our football podcast.
But look,
maybe you buy into it a little bit too much, and what you actually get is that it's what it is.
It's all about entertainment, and everyone loves to see it, really, and no one really got hurt in it, and it was like a few handbags, and it is what it is. But also, I have to say that, at least in my exposure to social media after the game, I think that the afters in itself has taken a lot of the sting out of the disappointment that may have come from the result. So
yes, that's a very fair point.
And look, I'm not saying that it should be a disappointment. Like I say, a draw against the league leaders, regardless of the situations and the sort of thing, is a result to be happy with, frankly. And we should go into the rest of the Christmas period with that. And honestly, the fact that Frank Lampard is as willing to celebrate and give that stick, and Coventry celebrated that win like it was, or that draw like it was the win that got them the title, should be taken as a compliment to the quality that our team has to bring that out from them. Because for them to feel that way shows that they, are perhaps surprised that they managed to hold on against us. So
exactly that. Like the fact that they celebrated it, and we're like, I can't believe they're celebrating this like it's like they've won the season. I'm like, well, it's nice though, isn't it? Like it's nice that that's what kind of little old Southampton has meant to them. As despite sure, it's just another notch in their belt to retain, to win the title. And the only thing I can say is good luck to them for the rest of the season, apart from when we next play them. And I'm sure if promotion comes to fruition, which it looks like it's going to, they have the wonderful joys of what going up to the Premier League, works out.
I don't know, mate. I've got a different opinion to you on that. I hope they lose every game the rest of the season, and they fully deserve it. That's the target.
Look, right? You can't see that in this world. We need to be nice to you.
I'll stand by it.
Well, I think we ain't going to get any different opinions off the back of that now, are we? So,
also, I've got to say, is it really any surprise to anyone that the first players on the scene, whether deliberately or not, to be involved in a bust-up were Wellington and Cienza?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're putting down.
Swiftly joined by Nathan Wood. Like, it's just fully the characters we're expecting, and I'm fully here for it. But that's a story for another day.
On, right? It might be a cringy way to end this podcast, but at the same time, we're pretty cringy people.
Absolutely. Right, mate, look, that is just about all we've got time for tonight. So thank you, Zach, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Let us know in the comments or on the socials, how are you feeling about the draw? Positive, negative, in the middle? Did you just enjoy the fight more than the game? Let us know. We're happy and open to all opinions, and we love hearing from you. We are GSPN Southampton on all of the socials, on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, everywhere. Look us up, hit us up. We will be back tomorrow to cover the rest of the weekend's championship goodness, because there was plenty of it. Till then, though, have a wonderful day, everyone, and we'll see you then.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.